So good morning, everybody. Good evening, those that might be watching this on replay in the UK, or indeed watching it from the Southern Hemisphere. So here we are. It's another Wednesday, and we are looking at the elements of modern mindset and how modern mindset can humanize transformation and drive accelerated success. And it's really funny, actually, because the reason why I have got today's subject as the key subject of today, why I've chosen today's subject is this. We've talked around the houses a little bit, about mindset and transformation and what it means. And we've really broken it down over the last few months. We've broken things down. We've deep dived into areas. But at the end of the day, the big kahuna really is modern mindset. And of course, we hopefully most of you will be familiar with the 7 dimensions that together make up a modern mindset, which is the digital native, the beginner's mind, the networked thinking, the open and transparent and authentic mind, the data mindfulness thinker, the future orientated thinker, and the human-centered thinker. So those 7 dimensions create modern mindset, but we also need foundational elements, and the foundational elements are really, really important to them as well. So mindset, what do we mean when we talk about mindset? Well, mindset is really what happens in here. And it's not just our conscious thoughts, is it? Mindset is also our unconscious thoughts. Mindset is also our memories. Mindset is also our habits. Mindset is our beliefs. And it's a huge amount of complexity around that. And we have the 4 quadrants that speak to those elements. Today, what I want to do is I want to take a big helicopter view, a macro view of modern mindset, and look and share with you the top 5 beliefs that a leader or a change transformation practitioner should have, be cultivating and nurturing in their own modern mindset. So that's what today is all about. Hopefully a nice light session for us because it's high level, and perhaps some nice reflections and possible questions or challenges at the end. So let's have a look at them. Well, before we start, and I even forgot myself there, my little quote, a really important element, and actually I've just come off a conversation with some practitioners and we were talking about this, why is mindset something that just seems to be forgotten? Or if it's talked about, it's just at a wee little surface level. We're not investing money in it. We're not really designing it in our change and transformation programs, or indeed in our leadership development programs. Why is that? And I think that some of that has got to do with a lack of understanding. Some of that has got to do with the historic evolution of business and government in terms of the Michael Porter approach. And I think some of it as well has got to do with the lack, until recent years, of research and statistics and academic focus on this subject. In the 70s, we had Carol Dweck coming out with the growth versus fixed mindset. Very little around that. Last week, we looked at Stephen Covey, again, 70s and 80s, talking to us about the abundance mindset. So, we've already recognizing that actually this is, for many people, the wild, wild west. Very, very interesting. So there are reasons for it, but not anymore. Now we have research. Now we have statistics. Now we have got techniques and models and frameworks that are specific to modern mindset and how we can shift. So I think now, for all of us that are trying to nurture our leadership profile, that we're also trying to lead change and transformation into difference, human systems into difference, and not just continuous improvement, then we now have everything that we need at our disposal to include mindset work as well, alongside everything else. So super important. And this quote here comes from McKinsey, and it comes from relatively recent work around just before COVID, and some continued work that they're doing in this particular area. And as always, if you'd like the slides, just let me know, because all of my source material is in the slides for you. So what, to frame today's conversation around the 5 top beliefs of modern mindset is this: the time is now to foster it. If we feel that there is a lack of this in the leaders and the change agents that we're working with at a peer level as well, we know that we can do something about this now. We know that there are techniques and tools and support frameworks out there. And of course, ours is just one of them. So to today's subject, modern mindset and the top 5 beliefs. What are they? I wonder how many of these you're going to go, oh yeah, of course it is, Mel, versus, oh, that's something that I hadn't actually thought about. Who knows? Let's ask ourselves that question at the end. So the first one is the belief that everything is connected. We cannot really evidence and demonstrate modern mindset if we do not truly believe that everything is connected. That is absolutely number one. And this goes beyond systems thinking. You know, I know that we've got Daniel Kahneman that talks about system 1, system 2, fast versus slow. We've got lots of different things there in terms of systems thinking and systemic design. But the key thing is for us to see things as networks, to see things as ecosystems. Everything is connected. And there are 3 key elements here. The first element, of course, is the personal element, seeing ourselves as whole human beings and not separating personal and professional, not separating our emotion from our intellect. It's really starting to balance mind, body, heart, and soul. And there's a huge amount of work that we can do in that. And the work that we can do there is not just mindset work. We can also do energy work. And if we look at Michigan's State University and the work of Kim Cameron in positive relational energy, we have got statistics and we've got longitudinal studies there that talk to energy work as well. So everything is connected is super important, first and foremost, for us to recognize this. It is an inside job, right? So it starts with us and making sure that we're connected there. And we can break down mind, body, heart, and soul into 12 dimensions as well. If anybody'd like to know those 12 dimensions, just let me know and I will send those 12 dimensions to you so that you can see for yourself as a human being where you are at if you were to score yourself perhaps maybe low, medium to high on those 12 areas. But you can just work on those 4 quadrants. The next one, in terms of everything is connected, is that sense of human to human. It's recognizing that, you know, it's all of our interactions have a ripple effect. Last week, we were looking at the abundance mindset and we were talking about how it's contagious. So if we bring positivity into a room, it will, you know, by definition, start rippling out. If we bring negative energy into a room or deplete that energy or draining energy into the room, then we know that that will have an effect. So it's really important for us to recognize this human to human, the conversations, the energy and the presence that we bring in, the interactions and the ripple effect. Super, super important. And finally, now, which is why I say it's kind of like, you know, really big macro stuff, is we have to understand human and planet. We have to bring those into everything. And the modern mindset belief of everything is connected. It doesn't matter what the project is, you know, are you bringing in, are you moving from on-premise to platform? Is it a technology? You know, are you designing a leadership development program? Whatever the change and transformation initiative is that you're working with a modern mindset, the belief that everything is connected, you will find a way to bring planet as well as human into play and recognize that it is absolutely law of nature. The decisions we make and what we are doing today that is affecting change and transformation, cause and effect. Yeah. So, you know, it's a law of nature. It's also one of the Newtonian laws of physics. So it's out there. We understand that. Really important for us to recognize that first belief, that everything is connected, and just really pushing the boundaries of those 3 elements: myself, human to human, human to planet. So really important on that first one. I just wanted to, you know, really not labor it, but really want to hit this one home. It's just thinking about how we might be able to, you know, think about our mind, body, heart, and soul. Is starting to recognize the interplay between how my heart emotion affects my mind, my decisions, my thoughts, my creativity, my ideas, how my body I'm tired, I've just gone for a run, or I need to go for a run to boost my physical energy, again, plays into affecting our mind, our thoughts, our creativity, our ability to finish that report that needs to be finished, and also our spirit versus our soul in terms of, you know, being abundance and being positive. And dare I say it, the love word, the L word, there is an MBA in love out there. Can you believe it? There is a book called Love in the Boardroom. There is, you know, a huge amount of work that talks about love and spirit in terms of boardroom, senior leadership, change and transformation. So it's recognizing the holism and interplay of those three things. I do also think it is important for us all to understand and at least be aware of Daniel Kahneman's work. So if you haven't read his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, really good book, really quick read, nice and engaging, but he talks about system 1 and system 2 thinking. Again, this is a little bit of holistic work in terms of our cognitive, our mind quadrant, but it also talks to, you know, how we can think more systemically, which is the system 2 thinking. So we've got system 1 thinking, which is very, very fast and almost automatic. And then we've got system 2 thinking, which is more kind of analytical. It will go back on something and just break it down and really kind of think. Number 1 is really about what's the obvious thing that I can see. Number 2, systems thinking is about what's beyond what I can see. Is there something else there beyond the patterns that my system 1 brain is showing me? So really important for us to recognize those 2 systems modes of thinking. When are we in system 1? When are we in system 2? Can we start to, you know, really be intentional about when we're in one systems thinking mode or the other? The second belief that anyone with a modern mindset displays is that, and believes, is transformation is human first. This might sound really obvious, but do you know what? I have to say, in my experience, my particular lived experience of this, working with leaders all day, every day, with change and transformation practitioners all day, every day, is this is only surface belief more often than not. I think one of the challenges and one of the provocations I give leaders and change agents is think deeply about this. It is not just about understanding your customers or designing for the customer. Are you really truly being human first? And if you are being human first in the way that you're approaching your transformation, the first thing you will do is you will recognize your role and the role that you play in this. And the second thing is that you will recognize that everything now, harking back to McKinsey's quote at the start of today's session, everything requires an inside-out approach. It is so incredibly important for us to first and foremost understand what is invisible in our human systems, not what is visible. What is invisible? What is under the surface of the iceberg, in order for us to address that? Because what's under the surface of the iceberg is the stuff that gives us, number 1, sustainable transformation, and number 2, personal responsibility in terms of self-evolution. Those 2 aspects should be outcome metrics of our transformation if we're looking at it at a longitudinal level. Yes, we're delivering this, that, and the other on budget, on time for that drop date. However, if we are believing that transformation is human first, we also have some milestone targets and metrics in place that talk to that inside out approach. Super, super, super important. So that's the second top belief that someone with a modern mindset has. The third one, which talks very much to last week's session, and had to have last week's session before I could have this session, really super important, is this: positive energy drives unlimited growth. Now, there's a lot in those 5 words. Positive energy drives unlimited growth. That's wow. Really? Yeah, research says it. We've got statistics now. We've got studies that are showing us this. Super important. The one thing that is really important here as well is the word energy. It's not mindset, it's energy. that we've got here. It's positive energy that drives unlimited growth. And whether you are aware of it or not, I'm not sure, but I will share with you that positive energy is the fifth energy state. So we do have 4 energy states that are, accepted and traditionally understood and known. So we have cognitive energy, emotional energy, physical energy, and what's the 4th one? We've got cognitive energy, we have got emotional energy, we've got physical energy, and we've got a 4th one that I can't even remember, and I've just been talking about it. Oh my God, it's completely gone from me. Anyway, 4 states of energy. I will put them in the show notes for today. It'll come to me in a moment. But each one of those energy states is finite. That's the key. So we're running around our daily lives. We're running around in change and transformation work, trying to keep our energy up in those 4 energy states, knowing that at the end of the day, or generally speaking, they're always going to deplete. Physical energy depletes, mental energy depletes, emotional energy depletes. All of these energies deplete. And when they are depleted, that's when burnout comes into play, weakness comes into play, confusion in terms of making decisions comes into play. And at that point, we know we have to stop. We have to stop to rest and renew. We have to stop in order to regrow or to recharge, and then we can go again. So the 4 energy states that we know from a human perspective that often play into change management, we know that they're finite. Positive energy is infinite. It's unlimited. As soon as you get somebody in a room that's got positive energy, you can just stay there forever. Positive energy is unlimited. So if we can understand our baseline of positive energy and use techniques like PQ, positive energy, positive intelligence, or things like PRE, which is positive relational energy, if we can use some of those techniques to first understand our baseline for positive energy and then start constantly raising the bar, then what that will do is that will support our strength in the 4 states that we know are finite. So how do we do this ourselves? How do we support this in leaders of our change and transformation programs? How do we support this in our peers and the project managers and the analysts and the designers? How do we support this in our users? Really, really, really important things for us to be reflecting on. But this is the stuff that modern mindset leaders believe in. It's also important that there are mindset spectrums, and you probably be aware of these. But again, if we can understand right at the start of a change and transformation initiative, where, and again, underneath the iceberg that's underneath, what is invisible to us, if we can understand where there might be limiting belief factors in terms of improvement, fixed scarcity, or negativity, we know that we can and should be doing something about them first and foremost as foundational elements of the human design of change and transformation in order to support transformational mindset, growth mindset, abundance mindset, and the positive mindset. Equally important for us, of course, is to map where the right-hand side of this spectrum is right at the very start, because if we can wrap our arms around the people that have those right-hand side spectrum mindsets, we know that the chances of our success are increased. That some of the work that McKinsey have done is, it states that if we can foster that positivity, if we can foster transformational leadership and abundance positive leadership around our change and transformation, we can be up to 6 times more successful. Well-being and health of everybody involved, the practitioners and the end users, increases. It's everything. Everything is an upward indicator. All of our indicators power up when we are focused on the right-hand side. So question to everybody is this: you might know them and be aware of them, but do you deeply understand them? Do you have any techniques that you can use for yourself and others to increase these things and just shift people from the left to the right? Really important for us to consider that one. The next one is a pretty obvious one, but one that we really need to remind ourselves of, is that modern leaders absolutely believe that digital and data can be used for the good of humanity and planet. It can and it should be. It can and it should be. And we've got lots of things here that can support us. We've got human-centered design, not customer-centered design, but human-centered design, all the humans involved. We've got regenerative thinking and that regenerative mindset that I talked about a few months ago. And this sense of bringing ethics, actively bringing ethics into the work environment. A lot of the time when you look at some of the literature on positive mindset, you'll see that it talks to living and breathing your values, demonstrating your values. A lot of the time when we talk to customers and when we talk to leaders, they are absolutely pro-ethics. They're pro-ethical decision-making. When it gets into evidence of values demonstrated in practice, when it comes to evidence of ethical decision-making in practice, that kind of is a different picture. It's a very, very different picture. So the key thing here really is action. The key thing here is being active, proactively using and challenging the use of digital and data for the good of humanity and planet. And that takes courage, but it's something that we need to be really, really, really conscious of. The regenerative thinking, of course, as I mentioned in one of the earlier webinars, was this sense of it doesn't matter how purely technical our project or program is, there should be an ethical and sustainable consideration within there. So that's what regenerative thinking is all about. Regenerative thinking, circular, regenerative thinking is about, environment, regenerative thinking is about planet. So that's the planet element of this piece. So that's the fourth one. And what is the fifth? The fifth one is arguably my favorite, because this is something that is so close to my heart and so central to all of my work in as a mentor and coach for modern mindset and humanizing transformation. Small is beautiful. Small is beautiful. It doesn't matter how you look at it. If it's applied correctly, small is beautiful, because practice makes progress. What do we mean by that? If we put things into practice and we do them, take action, and then take another action and then another action, we know that we will progress. Practice, we've got to put things into practice, experimentally and otherwise. So it's taking a step and then taking another step. It's so much easier for us to move from a place of movement than it is for us to move from a place of stop and static. So incredibly important. The other thing that I think is really important for us to recognize is the identity piece. Small is beautiful because we become who we repeatedly, what we repeatedly do. And that's a fact. Our identity is the culmination of the things that we do repeatedly and the things that we do habitually and think. We have thought habits and action habits. Think, what thought habits do you have? The thoughts that repeatedly come up for you when you are presented with something in a work environment. So really, really understanding the micro habits and the thoughts, small is beautiful. And the final thing as well is directional shift. So if we are taking tiny, tiny, tiny steps, tiny, 1% or 2%, those are the two measures, 1% shift or 2% shift. But we're doing it in a directional way. We are navigating towards a united point, a single point in the future, then we will have a huge impact, because what we're not doing is we're not just improving. So we're moving directionally into towards the right thing. What's really hard at the beginning of change and transformation is recognizing that people are taking action and doing really, really good things. We often get this thing when we're talking to customers and they go, we've got great things happening in our council, in our organization, in our NHS trust, in our institution. We've got good news stories all over. We've absolutely got this stuff, Mel. We've got it nailed. And as soon as you look at each one of those and you look at them analytically and you say, right, are they all directionally pointing in the same, towards the same thing? more often than not, the answer is no. So what you've got is you've got good news stories of improvement, or you've got good news stories of siloed direction. And what we want to do is we want to bring everything directionally towards the same point or moonshot. And that gives us compound interest. There you go. End of story. So those are the top 5 beliefs that a modern leader has. And those top 5 beliefs of modern leadership, modern mindset are, you know, for a modern leader, non-negotiable. For somebody that is really, truly wanting to succeed in transformation, non-negotiable. And, you know, that sounds quite strong for me to say that. But if you look at each one of them, it's very, very hard to argue the removal of them in the design and the delivery of what we're doing, and certainly in our own practice. And super, super important. So those top 5 beliefs that we have just talked about, of course, are key elements that we deep dive in and look at the practice of how we develop them and how we shift people through those belief systems in order to humanize transformation. And that's the stuff that we do in the Dilyn Way. That's the stuff that certification can give you, whether that is as a foundational practitioner, foundational certified individual, or as a practitioner. And the difference between foundation is you've got the theory, practitioner is you've also got your practice hours. So one is a little bit more deeply involved than the others. So that's a little bit about our certification. And as always, if you would like to know more about who I am, who we are in the world of modern leadership and humanizing transformation, then you know, everybody's journey begins. It's systems driven. So I've got time for you, then please put some time in the diary, and I'm more than happy to have an hour with you just to talk a little bit more about this and how it relates to you and your journey. So in summary, these are without question the top, but they're not the only ones. That's important. They're not the only beliefs that we hold as modern mindset practitioners, as modern leaders, but they are the top 5. Everything is connected. Beyond the boundary, transformation begins with us, and that is us as a practitioner, but also every single other person. So when we are liaising with individuals, when we are designing change and transformation at a human system level, we need to take an inside out approach. So that you is also you, plural, not just individually related to us. Positive energy drives unlimited growth. This is important. This is the impact, the sustainable impact beyond the end of a project or a program, the sustainable impact. And that sustainability is really about the individual humans being able to self-serve their own evolution. And sometimes self-serving their own evolution might not be within the organizational system or the department that they began. That doesn't matter. We are not worried about that. That's where some of the ethics comes into play. It's just about making sure that that individual can directionally develop towards their peak performance and potentiality using positive energy. That's super important. Number 4, the penultimate mindset of the top 5, digital and data to be used for the good of humanity and planet. As I mentioned, all about the regenerative mindset. Active, everything in number 4 is all about actively being regenerative, actively being ethical, not thinking about it and talking about it at the water cooler moment. It's calling it out at the time. It's really making sure that we are championing it in design and delivery and not conforming to system. If anything here is about swimming in the opposite direction of the mass and the majority at the beginning, it's definitely number 4. And finally, number 5, which really is more about the how rather than the what. It's the belief that how we transform is so powerful if we use tiny little steps repeatedly and all in the right direction. Tiny little steps repeated in the right direction. And if we are doing that in the techniques and in the initiatives that we are taking to help people move from left to right spectrum of mindset, then absolutely we will get what McKinsey is saying right at the very start and the top of today's session, which is up to potentially 6 times success in our transformation. The key thing is this: people are happier. transformation becomes less, there's less friction in it because of what you can see up here on the slide. If these became belief statements as part of a manifesto of any change or transformation program, I wonder how much success can be driven just out of these becoming part of an accepted manifesto, even within the practitioners of change and transformation. Really interesting things to think about. So summary for today is very simple, really, isn't it? Modern mindset. If we are able to not just be aware of, not just understand, but lean into actively demonstrating modern mindset, transformation will accelerate. It's a probability formula. We will help humanize transformation, and we will support and drive the well-being of the humans within our system. That cannot be bad stuff, can it? Surely that is something for us to make sure that front and center is part of our business case. Just been talking with one of our practitioners earlier on, who is in the process of writing a transformational business case at the moment. And we talked about how we are able to bring some of this stuff into it foundationally right at the very start to ensure that it is absolutely prioritized. Really, really important. And something, transformation is hard, but it doesn't have to be tough. It doesn't have to be tough. And I believe that transformation, more often than not, is tough. It's tough. That's why we've got burnout. That's why we've got stress. That's why we've got anxiety. That's why we've got miscommunications and complexity. It should be hard, not tough. That's really important. And also, I think that reframing towards modern mindset everywhere will pay dividends. Again, what do I mean by that? If we are able to do something, as a simple example, somebody gives us a problem statement, we mirror it back as a value statement. So if we can reframe problems as value, and if we can reframe negative as positive, as scarcity as abundance, as, everything is full of untapped potential and possibility, then we are on our way to fostering modern mindset. That's super important. I've gone a few minutes over, but just want to kind of kick into a little bit of the banana skins here. I think the banana skin here is not taking action, and essentially this is just not taking responsibility for this ourselves. If we think that we are separate to anything that we are doing in the world of change and transformation, boy, do we have it wrong. We are right front and center. We are at the center of change and transformation, whether we like it or not, because we're working in it, not on it. And I also think that what is important here, given what I've talked about today, is not believing in the results. Do we genuinely believe that humanizing transformation, that modern mindset, that positivity can drive up to 6 times the results, be 6 times more successful in some cases? Do we believe that? And how can we support that belief? It's by doing small little experiments ourselves. If we are living and breathing it, if we have a lived experience of this stuff, then our belief will just happen naturally. So it's very, very important for us to just maybe spend a bit of time on whether, we do believe this or not. And if we do, then great. And how do we deepen it? If we don't, then why? And perhaps, go and work with somebody on that in terms of coaching and or mentoring. 5 top modern mindset beliefs. I wonder which one of those you would feel most strongest in terms of your own profile. And I wonder which one you would want to work on a little bit more out of those 5. That's kind of the thought that I want to end on today's session. And we are a few minutes over on today, but what I will do is just let everybody know these slides and the recording will be available to everybody later on today, if not today, tomorrow. And I'm really keen for anyone, this is really important, these 5 beliefs. They're easy for us to cognitively and intellectually understand. They're not so easy for us to put into practice. So if anybody wants a little bit of a leg up, just a little bit of support on how these can be put into practice either for themselves or for the others, please do reach out to me for that, you know, that session that I mentioned earlier on, because it is important for us to try and get, you know, the macro ripple effect of modernity out to the world of change and transformation. So I look forward to seeing you again next week, and hopefully you have a great rest of the week and a fantastic weekend. And I hope that you are going to have a great time today, and I will see you soon.
Thanks, Mel.